I would like us to see how we can do a what if analysis in Excel. If you remember in class, we went over this. I would just like us to read this short question. Case poster business example. So each poster sells for $35 and has a variable cost of $21. K has $7,000 of fixed cost per month and would typically sell 950 posters per month and would like to earn at least $4,900. So if we're going to make a report from our what if analysis, we need to be showing values that we need to be showing variables that would yield a minimum of $4,900 throughout our what if analysis. And that's exactly what we'll be demonstrating right now. So the first thing we need to do is I'll plug in the numbers. I'll plug in the numbers first of all into our cost card. So our selling price per unit we know to be $21. So I put $21, and our variable costs we know to be, sorry, our selling price per unit to be $35. Sorry, $35. Our variable cost will be $21. Question. So our contribution margin would then be the difference, right? So I'll do equals 35 less 21. I hit enter. So we have $14 contribution margin per unit. Now the total of the K would typically sell 950 posters. So I'll put 950 posters. So if we multiply 950 by 14, we have equals um, 14 times 950. And that gives us 13,300. So our total contribution margin is 13,300. Now we have a fixed cost or fixed expenses according to the question of $7,000. Okay, so put out $7,000, and then this should give us an operating income of the difference between 13,300 and 7,000. So we hit equals 13,000 less 7,000, and we have 6,300. I mean, I'll put the monthly target profits to be I'll put the minimum. I mean, the target profit here is 4,009. So I'll just put 489 out. Take off $1 from it. 4,899. Okay. So here we have our cost card that shows an operating income of 6,003 as per the case that we've just looked at here. However, the target is to have a minimum of $4,900 a month. So go ahead to plot our what if analysis. So basically, what we're trying to do here is this: we're just trying to say at different levels of volume, what would be the corresponding operating income. So, for example, if I decide to change 950 to, let's say, I don't know, let's say 600, we should be getting 1,400. But our aim is to get a minimum of 4,900 in operating income. So if we keep changing that 300, that's a negative. I mean, because I've done this before, if you put in 500, that takes us to zero, which means the break-even units is 500. So if we sold 500 units of posters or 500 posters, we would be at break-even. So anything above 500 takes us to profits. So I'll go back to the 950 just so we have 950, the original data set, and then we'll try to do a what if analysis. Let's plot a what if analysis and see how that works. So what I would do is I'll come in here and then I'll just name this. Let me name this. I'll name this profit outcomes. Profit outcomes at different sales prices and volumes. And then what I would then do is I'm going to shade. I would also shade sales. You see why that's the case. I would shade the sales. I'll say shade sales. Should sales greater than the target profits. Should sales greater than the target profit. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So now that we have this, we can then provide a range. We have our sales price per unit to be $35. So let's provide different ranges of sales prices, but I would also include $35. So I'll decide to start with I would start with, let's say, 29. If I start with 29, let's see what happens. 29, 30, and then I'll just drag across board so it makes it easy. So I know exactly, I'll just stop at, let's say, 39. Let's stop at 39, for example. So we have 39. Then over here, I'll put in the different levels of volume. So again, our volume here that has provided of 6,300 is 950. So I'm going to again put a range of volumes that would also capture 950, items, volumes above 950 and below 950. So I'll just start with 1,400. You can start with anything, or anything greater than 950. So I've decided to start with 950, 1,004. So just so that I have a wide range. And I'll reduce it by 50 all through. So 1,350 all through. Then again, because I like to do this so that I can just have everything. So I'll just take that to 200 units. So we have our selling price and our volume at different ranges. Again, this is just so that we can, do a sensitivity analysis, which simply means, the responsiveness of our profits to changes in volume, basically. Okay. So what I'll then do is I'll pick the 6,300. I would say equals 6,003. So always make sure you pick that. Don't just type it in. Make sure you pick it just so that Excel can recognize it. So now that we have the 6,300 profits or operating income, we then highlight everything. So I'll highlight everything here. Once you have this highlighted, you then go straight to data. So I'll hit data. And when we hit data, we look for the what if analysis function over here. So I'll hit the what if analysis function and look for data table. So I'll click data table and then I'll select the items that I want to be in there. So in the row input cell, I'll select the selling price of 35. Okay. And then in the column input cell, I'll select the 950 volume. Select that. And then what I'll then do is click OK. So what Excel will do is it gives us different profit outcomes based on the different levels of outputs against the corresponding volume. So at $29 and 1,400 volume, we have 4,200 and so on and so on. So if we notice the last time when I changed 950 to 500, it took us to break even zero. We can easily prove that here. So if you go straight to 500, if you look at 500 at $35, which is our selling price per unit, you can see that we have zero there to prove that that's breaking. So you can make this into a nice report to show the different levels of profits every time there's a change in selling price and volume. So that's why we call it a sensitivity analysis. Is the sensitivity of operating income to changes in things like in variables like selling price, variable cost, fixed cost, and volume. So that's why it's called a CVP analysis. But it's always good to do a sensitivity analysis because the markets are not stable. We can only make expectations, but there are other things beyond our control, and it's always rational to do a sensitivity analysis to determine the different fluctuations or changes that are likely to take place in the market space. So once we have this, all we need to do now is if I highlight all of this, because I label this to be profit outcomes at different sales price and volumes, which we've done. So we need to shade the sales that are greater than the target profit. So we know that the target profit here, according to the question, if you look here, is 4,009. So we aim for items here that are greater than 4,009, because it says get what is greater than 4,009, or at least the question says you expect to earn at least 4,009. So at least 4,009 will be anything above 4,900. So 4,900 and above. Okay. So the way to do that is you highlight everything again, like we did previously, and then you hit home. If you hit home, so you go away from data to home, and then you look for conditional formatting. So you click conditional formatting, and you hit highlight sales rows. So because we're looking for what is greater than the target profit, we click greater than. So if you hit greater than, by default, it highlights some items in red and puts in a random number. So we need to change that number now to 4,009, right? Because we want anything above 4,900. So I'll put 4,900. And because, I want to make it green rather than red. So I'll change that to green. I'll change that to green and hit OK. So if you're presenting this as a report, you're showing whoever needs the report that, you've done the different, profit outcomes, given the different, levels of volume and selling price, and then you're able to highlight the different levels of profits, greater than or equals to 4,900. And this is how you do a sensitivity analysis, or a what if analysis in Excel. So I hope this is clear and it makes sense. You can always pause the video and rewind to get better understanding. And then I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.